Good afternoon, welcome to Weather God's Wisdom. Today we will be talking about Amphan and how this system will be impacting the Ganges Delta up here near Bangladesh and Kolkata, India. Here, this is India to the west of the system, and this is Amphan. You can see that the eye has filled in. This is largely due to an eye wall replacement cycle that is nearing completion, which the original eye you can see is very small, is filling in these frames, and this eye wall replacement cycle is almost complete. If you look at the microwave pass that was about 20-30 minutes ago, you can see that there are only little fragments of the eye wall in here from the old eye that was very small, and you have this very large band around the system, or this old eye wall, and it is completely suffocating this old eye wall. And as long as these little parts dangle in here, there's not going to be a whole lot of clear skies in the eye. But once these disappear and kind of just collapse due to the sinking air of the eye will clear out within the next 24 hours. And this storm will be much larger. What this eye wall replacement cycle means is that the overall wind field will be expanded, and you can see that on the H-Wharf model here. This hurricane force wind field is about 95 nautical miles to east to west, and this is a very large system and will be impacting a very highly populated area. Here, this is Kolkata up here. This is Bangladesh. You can see the country line, and you can see how powerful the H-Wharf model, the intensity model, has this system as it goes into the Ganges. And you can see that it remains very powerful all the way into landfall. This is almost a Category 4. You can see up here 127 knots, which is a high-end Category 4 cyclone. This is very, very bad, and this, the surge threat here is ridiculously high. All this area is almost 100% below 10 meters. There's a little area right here in Bangladesh that's above 10 meters, but if you look at the overall coastline, it's very low-lying, and surge will be pushed in very far inland, and that covers a very large portion of the population that lives here. So this area needs to be taking the system extremely seriously, and as this very large circulation begins to move northward, and it is already moving northward, as it begins to really accelerate to the north, it will be encountering some shear from the south as this anticyclone that it has built up over the past few days will begin shearing it, because it is not entirely centered over the system. You can see that on some of the outflow clouds right here that are being pushed to the south and west, and are not entirely aligned with the system. And as the system drifts away from being relatively in this lower shear environment, it will start to feel some shear from the south, and maybe up to 20 knots of shear. And we'll see how well it handles that. What we're watching is to see how strong this eye wall band is, and see how well it can hold off the shear. Right now, it looks like it might be able to maintain itself a little better. This band is very intense and very thick, and really on the northern side doesn't matter as much because of the angle of the shear, but so far it is not really taking a whole lot of heat, and so this band is very intense and will likely be able to sustain itself. So I don't see much weakening happening here in the time over the next 24, 36 hours before landfall. Of course, it will weaken as it hits the shallower waters in here just off the shore, but by that point it doesn't really matter, because the system is already practically on land and the surge will already be rising. And one thing I would like to discuss here is the overall size of the system. You see, this is a very large system here. It's a very large moisture field, and just all around very, very large. And what does not really matter at this point is the exact intensity, because as the system gets larger, you see this very large, intense band of convection here, and then the outer bands here. But the main band of convection, the core, is spread out over a larger area, and so it doesn't really matter at this point how exactly intense this is. The only thing that this really matters about is the overall size. The overall size is what is the main concern. And as this eye wall replacement cycle completes, this is going to be a much larger system, and the wind field is spread out over a much larger area, which means that it can drive more surge into the Ganges Delta, and this would escalate the surge threat to a much higher degree. And as this eye wall replacement cycle completes, the storm will begin to intensify again, but at this point it does not really matter. The system is extremely large and will be pushing a lot of water into this region no matter what, and so it does not matter the exact intensity. Really, the intensity only matters for the record books, but this is like something that is very, very bad. This is going to go right into the Ganges Delta here, and these people need to be evacuated. I don't know if they will be evacuated. I think they should be evacuating, and they probably will be over the next couple of days before the system comes in, but depending on how many people we can get out is going to be crucial, because this is a very dangerous system and you cannot survive this. This is a very, very bad system. If this was in the Gulf of Mexico, people would be running for the hills right now. So that's all I have to say about this. The system is very bad. It is going to continue to move north, and over the next 2 days or so, this system should make landfall somewhere in between Kolkata and eastern or western Bangladesh. Somewhere in here it should be making landfall. Where it makes landfall does not really matter, other than where the worst surge is, but most of the surge will be spread out along the coast, up to at least 2 meters of surge over most of this area, and a meter of surge for almost like the whole western half of Bangladesh here, because of the storm's orientation, and most of the wind is driven onshore here. And so anyway, that's all I have to say. As always, listen to the Indian Meteorological Department and for the latest advisories on Amphan, and make sure that you have everything in order before you are, you leave. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Have a good rest of your day.